after the Hindenburg report, Gautam Adani, along with 7 other, that includes his nephew Sagar Adani, have been indicted by the US Securities and Exchange Commission with the fraud, bribery and corruption for allegedly defrauding American investors and bribery worth rupees 2,000 crores. And as per the SEC, the bribery scheme was orchestrated to enable renewable energy companies Adani Green and Azure Power to capitalize on a multi-billion-dollar solar energy project awarded by the Indian government. Bizarre accusations, including Adani's alleged meetings with Indian officials to orchestrate bribery, have been levelled. They have stated that since the beginning of the bribery plot in 2020, conspirators used code names, with Adani being referred to as Mr. A, Numero Uno, and Big Man. Not only that, the US agency has also named several Indian states including Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, Jammu and Kashmir, Tamil Nadu and Chhattisgarh in connection with the alleged bribery plot. It sounds ludicrous, and that's exactly what it is, but we'll discuss this and get some points and some views from the people who understand what's exactly going on over here. Dr. Sharat Kohli, senior economist, with me on the program. Mr. Gautam Mukherjee, senior journalist, with us on the show as well. Mr. Sumit Peer, senior political commentator, with us on the program as well. And last but by no means the least, Mr. Ajay Dua, former Commerce Secretary, also joins us on the show. Dr. Kohli, I'll begin with you. First of all, your impressions of what's happening over here. Well, the first thing that comes to our mind is that this is perhaps something which is going to blow over. It's not going to blow up, it's going to blow over just like Hindenburg did. The Adani stock has come down as a result of these unfounded allegations and this indictment. But the fact of the matter is that whatever we have heard so far, whatever we have observed so far, sounds like a very shallow conspiracy to slow down India's growth story. I mean, please explain this to me, Dr. Kohli, like I'm a 4-year-old, that, if I want to give bribes to someone, to the tune of 2,000 crores, would I meet them in person if I am Mr. Adani? Would I just meet them on a particular day and tell them the next day, why don't you come over and we'll sort you out? Is this how it works? I really don't think that the naivete with which this report is being popularized throughout the world is going to damn the Adanis or India in any manner. Dr. Kohli.
Good evening, Vineet. Good evening to my fellow panelists and NewsX viewers. I think I have a feeling Adani Group and Mr. Adani must be getting used to missiles coming from the US. I think he's been seeing that for a long time now. So I think I'm not sure if he would be as much surprised, because he's quite used to that. We've seen Hindenburg happening not once but more than that. Now, obviously, I mean, whether the claims are true or not true, that's besides the point. But the backdrop in which these allegations have been made, that backdrop is very much true. Very first is the Canadian angle. The Canadian pension fund and Canadian pension fund passing on this information to the US, with the Nijjar killing and so on and so forth, where Prime Minister Modi is being named and so on. So I think anything coming from Canada, first of all, puts a question mark on the whole thing, knowing what is happening with Canada right now, number one. Number two, America has got a very funny system of presidential elections. The president gets elected in November, first week, and the transition happens in January. Well, this space which is created here, this transition, can play mischief here. So the Democrats, which you are witnessing here, if you can order long-range missiles used on Ukraine just before you release power, just before you transition, and you force the Kremlin to sign the nuclear doctrine, and the very next day Zelensky fires the missile somewhere in the middle of Russia, exposing the whole world to a world war. So in front of that, I feel this is a much smaller missile which has been fired, and happening in New York, from where Donald Trump lost. Also, let's not forget the number of cases which Donald Trump has been indicted on, which are going on in the New York courts. That is the third question mark. The fourth question mark is all the allegations on all the propaganda against India, India's growth story, India's FDI, India's investments, India being an alternate to China, and overall the way India has handled environment-related issues. COP29 just got over. So I think all the commitments made by India at COP29, concern for Global South, India's demand for the developed nations to contribute towards climate change and so on and so forth. I think that is another backdrop. Then, of course, let's not forget the backdrop of Adani. As I said, he's a favorite with the Americans now, as far as American regulatory agencies are concerned. And then, let's not forget Prime Minister Modi's angle. All the "ek hai to safe hai," and all those posters coming out from the opposition here. So there's the political angle in India. So and the deep state. Why forget the deep state, the George Soros? So with this multiple backdrops, all coming in the form of a bouquet, Vineet, I personally feel that if this backdrop was not there, maybe for once we would have said, yes, this should be investigated. And, as an economist, I would say that anything which is unsubstantiated by an Indian investigative agency, we've got no reason to believe what America is doing. Let us file a case tomorrow in Patiala House Court, and we were talking with Sumit earlier, and we should find out what Nikki Haley, how did her net worth grow? How was $1 billion spent by the Democrats and still lost the election? Let's file case by case detail in Patiala House Court, and let's discuss. Let Patiala House Court pass a judgment that something is happening in America, and we want to investigate here, and we indict that particular group for taking bribes and so on and so forth. So sitting in another country and passing a judgment, or even if it's from the Attorney General's office, has got no meaning as far as there is any Indian per se, because the moment there is corruption, and you hear, you get a heads up. If there is anyone who wants to believe this, I think you should remember that country has got no jurisdiction, no locus standi on India to pass remarks over there for people who are of Indian origin, who hold Indian passports, who are Indian residents, they are Indian companies, just because somebody invested from there. And let me bring another angle to it, which I'm sure would not have been discussed up to now. The matter relates from 2020 to 2024. We are talking of a span of 4 years. Now, how do I get assured, even if this whole bribe angle or the bribe gate is true, how do I get assured that any Gora was not bribed? How do we get assured? Even if we include all the guys you've named there, maybe there are a few Goras who have not been named here. So, there are so many gaping holes in the whole theory. And the biggest of all, when you call somebody numero uno, the big man, Mr. A or whatever, I'm sure Mr. Adani and Mr. Sagar Adani and others, they carry a hearing device and a camera on their ear. So whenever they type anything on the phone, somebody sitting in New York comes to know what he's typing. Somebody comes to know who he's meeting. Somebody comes to know what he's writing. I'm not talking of GPRS here. I'm not talking of tracking somebody's mobile phone. I'm literally talking of somebody having a camera up here. The kind of camera, the light you carry in a mine. When you go inside a mine, there is a light which comes right on your head and it throws in the front. This is a classic story of somebody observing you. Upar wala sab janta hai. There is a camera slogan which I heard some camera company advertises, and this is the tagline: Upar wala sab janta hai. Is New York that upar wala? That is the big question. So first you substantiate that from where on earth did you get those fine and meticulous details, those finer details? Where did you get those details from? How did you know bit by bit what was being typed in their phone, and how did the encrypted messages come to life? So I think there are gaping holes in this. And in the backdrop of Vineet, what I said, the whole story comes into question. Having said that, 25th, the parliament session starts. So when you said blown over, expect a lot happening, expect a very noisy parliament session, the way we witnessed in times of Hindenburg, the usual rant. And the rant has to be this time backfiring, because Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Jammu and Kashmir, all these, leave out Jammu and Kashmir, that was under the LG rule, all the other states were ruled by the opposition. So if somebody raises a noise, you have to be looking at the mirror and answering the question yourself.
Mr. Dua, how strong would you attribute this case to be, considering, that it is based on perhaps somebody's figment of imagination, that there were, briberies that took place, there was corruption that took place, and how, likely is it that something so ludicrous is going to hold in courts? But, apart from that, apart from the technicalities and the logistical matters of this case, there are reputations attached. There is a lot of money attached. As we already know, the stock market in the Adani stock has come down by, margin of 20%, which is a lot. is this also an indication that there is a concerted effort to, if not stop, then to defer, procrastinate India's growth story?
Thank you, Vidit, for having me. While I haven't read the judgment, it's a long judgment, and it is circulating on social media. Also, I haven't had an occasion to read it carefully. But what I can say certainly is that the impact of this on the Indian growth story, it would definitely be there. After all, he's India's Mr. Adani, Gautam Adani's setup is one of the largest companies in the continent, in the entire Asian continent, if not the world now, the rapid rate of growth. He was planning to invest. He had just announced an investment plan of $100 billion in the days to come. And he'd also been raising money from the United States. Only on the 15th of last month, he started a Adani Green bond for $2 billion, for which he had to step up the interest rate from 7 to 7.45. Those things, whether true or not, and for a moment, let's say they're not true at all, as the word used by you, ludicrous, yet what happens is things like this would hurt the reputation of the concerned company, would hurt India's growth story and the process of growth. Not everybody in the world is happy that why has India suddenly in the last few years come up to a stage where it's becoming a darling of the world, be it in G20 last week, be it now in COP29, and all the international fora, etc. The Indian Prime Minister gets the attention deserving as he is. But why has it suddenly changed? And it could be China doesn't, I'm quite sure China doesn't want us to be growing at that rate and taking away the focus from it. United States, many in the United States probably don't want it. Many in probably Europe also don't want it. Seemingly they're political. But they do represent large businesses. So having said that, I would say, yes, impact would be there on the growth story. The Hindenburg did have some effect, even a month or two's gap, when the issue blows up, everybody is discussing it, everybody is finding ways and means to get out of it, defend itself, defend the country, etc. The attention moves away from governance. So I fear, and with our democracy where we have every 2 months or 2.5 months a parliament session, and now the winter session starting as Krishna just mentioned on the 25th, it is going to become an issue. Parliament will get disturbed, there will be kind of disruptions, and so the new lawmaking, legislative work, other kind of things, media will get headlines on who said what, etc. So that is going to be there. So I fear that while the story would probably, after all, right now it's an indictment by a court of law, which will now go through a full process of judicial scrutiny at different levels. Even in the United States, you have the different forums to go on to vindicate yourself. The process, this is just the first step, and it's not the final, and rightly so. So what I'm saying is that damage kind of in the short run, and that always puts the growth story back, and always puts the governance, changes its focus. Yes, who could deny the fact, what's been pointed out, that the charge of corruption is in 4 states, and other than the centrally administered state of northern India. The other 3 were not under the BJP rule during that time, 2020 to 2024. So the SEIC, the central the solar the agency with which the PPAs etc. the first set of understandings were arrived at, is certainly a central government corporation. But the fact, the people who've been named, other than two persons of the Adani family, and the Azure power, all right, he's probably an Indian origin person with a name like Ranjit Mehta, or whatever. The question is, the damage is being done by the mere allegation against a person who is well known. The world holds him responsible for the growth story in India recent times. Of course, there are others, Ambanis, etc., also who are contributing, Tatas and a few others as well. But his name stands out as the current, what one might say, the current tiger of the country. And people would obviously not like to see a country till the other day known for being laid back, slow rate of growth, so-called Hindu rate of growth, which dominated it from 40 to 50 years, suddenly not emerging as a new South Asian type.
All right. Sumit Peer, rightful to say, that the Adanis perhaps, over the course of the last few months must have become extremely adept at dealing and tackling with these smear campaigns, because as per our previous discussion, this seems to be a smear campaign. Obviously, there is a judgment, there is an indictment, but the fact of the matter is, how can we be sure of the kind of methods that have been used to ascertain this so-called truth?
Vinny, thanks for having me on your show. If I can be candid with you, let's talk. Let's be direct today, because it is a concerted effort, plan, and a very thought-out strategy by US deep state, some American politicians, some Indian politicians, and some people with vested interests, including People's Republic of China, who have got together and hatched this plan. Adani is the medium, Modi is the target, and Indian economy is the ultimate aim. That is how they are going to go, 3 in 1. They are going to shoot for one arrow and three targets are there. That is what that has been done. Look, when the transition of power is happening in in US, what are they doing right now? They are telling you, when they have literally put the world on a world war, by Joe Biden and all. Now, what are they telling you? That there's a scam which has happened. The scam, so-called alleged scam, happened in India. The people who are to be blamed are Indian citizens. The people who are alleged are Indian citizens. And you are trying to cast aspersions. Point here is, you have no loci. This is not your business to talk about what happened in India. By the virtue of some American, something touched on the American soil, if that is the logic, then all the transitions in the world go through American banks. Then by that virtue, you become the global custodians of any and everything which is happening in the world. That's point number one. Point number two is, there is no reason for Adani ji to do this, because whatever power you produce in India, that goes to the national grid. And even if you and me can produce some extra solar units on our rooftop, even national grid is willing to buy that. Why should we pay 70 lakh rupees to buy 1 megawatt of power? There is no need for it. We need power. We are a growing economy. We are going to be number 4th. And when you look at these allegations, even if you lose 3 months in it, 3 months is 1 quarter. Economy of 4.3 trillion. Imagine the loss of a quarter. It's a billions of dollars. Today, 2.5 crore people, sir, have lost 2 lakh crore. 2 lakh crore उड़ गए हैं सुबह से. And then when you make the politics into it, you get Modi ji involved into it, and Rahul Gandhi does a press conference, and Jairam Ramesh ji gets involved, and they say, oh, it's all Modi's patronage is because it's happening. You are talking to the world, look, the Indian Prime Minister is corrupt, the Indian power boards are corrupt, Indian banking system is corrupt, Indian industrial industry is corrupt, and Indian power distribution is corrupt. Why that too? When you talk about the solar energy, there was a time we were importing solar panels from China. Today, the number 1 plant and the number 3rd plant producing highest number of solar panels is in India. We have made the photovoltaic cell more effective. We have reduced the price substantially, and yet we are the biggest producer of the solar power in the whole world. The biggest farms are in India again. Now, with our commitment to the solar energy and Modi ji forming the Solar Power Alliance, which he is the architect of at a global level. Now, and on the top of that, you are getting more FDI than China for last 2-3 years constantly. You have taken over the Chinese so-called green initiative industry. China has 3 industries. Real estate gone. Second was this technology based with the chip ban and all that is gone. The third was the real estate and this green energy. And if you look at the BYD, I'm just trying to bring in this for a small context here. If you look at the BYD, Vineet, mark my words today. BYD is the new Evergrande of China. That is what is going to happen to BYD in China. So with all those things happening and India coming and becoming the epitome of this, what do? You target the man who is responsible for Indian infrastructure. You target the man who is building ports for India across the world, strategic ports, military you target the person who is building the Haifa port. You target the person who is building the port stations. You target the person who is giving power to the Bangladesh. And that too, Bangladesh has not paid us more than $800 million, $840 million for that. When these things are happening, then somebody in America wakes up and the same set of people, the same state where Donald Trump lost, and they are the same set of people who tried to send Donald Trump to jail. They're the same set of people who never wanted him to contest the election. They're the same set of people who had everything and anything against the Donald Trump. As if he comes to power, the hell will break loose. And look at the timing. Exit polls are out yesterday. Exit polls indicate NDA-led BJP is going to make in both the states. And next day after exactly this thing has happened. Now let me add a cherry to the cake. Alex Soros visiting White House 14 times. To do what? Now, George Soros has put money in all the US DOJ elections, DA elections, DOJ elections, and the money is in few $100 million. So he's controlling the American, judicial system. Now, with these all things happening and then a court in America trying to intervene, it's a blatant interference in our internal affairs. They have no business what the hell is happening in India, what is not happening. Indian matters is Indian thing. And if I want to remind the Americans, because I know this broadcast will be watched somewhere, Obama, $1.3 million. Now he's worth few $100 million. So let's put a court in Jumri Talaya court and get a charge sheet filed. Nancy Pelosi, total salary she got is around $3 million. She's worth $240 million. Full-time politician has no business. Let's put a case in Aligarh court. We'll prosecute her from there. And now Nikki Haley, bankrupt. She goes into Lockheed Martin. She's a multi-millionaire now. Let's put a case in where? Jharkhand will be good. Jharkhand court will prosecute them. Now, even if you look at the Democrats campaign, they raised $1.6 billion we need, and they are still indicted with $20 million. Where did the money go? Let's put a case somewhere in Tamil Nadu and start persecuting them. And by the way, all these states are under the opposition. None of them has to do with BJP. And if Mr. Adani is so much of corrupt, why are you taking thousands of crores of investments from Adani ji? And the latest thing, Mr. Revant Reddy ji, Manani Mukhyamantri ji, he has taken 100 crores in his personal trust from Adani just couple of days back. And now Rahul Gandhi is saying, oh, it's corrupt, go and arrest him. If on the allegations of a foreign court, somebody should be arrested, didn't the Italian lawmakers in Italy say that, Mr. late Sri Rajiv Gandhi ji was involved in Bofors? Didn't they say Augusta Westland case, Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi ji are involved? And if by the virtue of allegation somebody goes to the court of a foreign court's allegations, now there is a Deccan Herald case here in which Rahul Gandhi ji and Sonia Gandhi ji are out on the bail. If they go by morality and principle, shouldn't they surrender their bail and go to the jail?
Right.
That is what the
Let me also rope in Dr. Kohli once again. Dr. Kohli, it can't be a coincidence, that the Prime Minister at the same time is also being brought into all these needless conspiracies when they say that he presided over a meeting or a conversation which was looking to neutralize Niger. Do you think that there is a larger conspiracy at play here, and the deep state which Donald Trump has vowed to get rid of is perhaps responsible for leaving a legacy, or leaving in fact a state of affairs which will be very difficult for Donald Trump to get through to?
Absolutely, Vineet. There seems to be a clear agenda, because I think the agenda became very clear, as I said earlier, when Zelensky was allowed to use the long-range missiles, on Russia, which were not being allowed until now. So why allow at a time when you are in a transition phase? And I think I'm very surprised at the presidential system of elections, because technically after the president-elect is there, the powers of the existing government during transition phase must be more. There are some limits imposed, but there should be more limits imposed. They should not be allowed to take key decisions. You may take 2 months to transition. Yes, there is a clear agenda, and the fact that this is coming out of the Federal Court of New York, this is the very state where Donald Trump is facing multiple cases. This is exactly the same state. So obviously, there is a very, very clear agenda. And beneath a very important aspect which you spoke of in your initial dialogue, which is that how was this bribe paid? 2,000 crore plus money. One of the explanation given was that some of the contracts, the power supply contracts, were rescinded. So, the contracts could be rescinded, they could be on facts because there could be a quality issue, there could be a demand issue, there could be a technical issue, and there could be a legal issue. How can you rescind the contract? Because the PSAs are governed by law. Every agreement is signed in India, registered in India with these electricity boards. So how was 2,000 crore paid? I think whosoever is making the allegations, they have to first, because unless you are able to prove that how did the money change hands, they will carry no substance. You have to prove how did 2,000 crore. I can't carry in my wallet and just hand it over to somebody.
Right,
and
sir.
I can't call somebody, it's on the table. So I think there are a lot of gaping holes, as I said, in this whole allegation,
Absolutely.
which needs to be very clarified.
That's exactly what this entire case is all about. Gaping holes and inaccuracies, which will, of course, in the due course of time, shall be exposed. Would like to thank everyone who joined this cause.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.